Imagine a land of wild frontiers, crumbling empires, and constant battles, a place where survival meant carving your legacy with a sword. Sounds like the plot of a fantasy epic, right? But what if I told you this was real, and one man's journey would lay the foundation for a nation? This is the story of Vímara Peres, the man who dared to dream of Portugal before it even had a name. Portugal, the land of explorers, breathtaking coastlines, and rich history. But rewind over 1,000 years, and what you'll find is a chaotic patchwork of warring kingdoms and cultures fighting for dominance. It was in this turmoil that a young warrior named Vímara Peres emerged, a man who would not only fight for survival, but also for an enduring vision of unity and strength. In this video, we're diving deep into how this overlooked figure helped shape the destiny of a nation. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. To understand Vímara Peres, we need to rewind to the 9th century, a time when the Iberian Peninsula was anything but peaceful. The Christian kingdoms in the north were desperately holding their ground against the powerful Muslim Caliphate of Córdoba to the south. Amid this constant push and pull, the Kingdom of Asturias stood as a beacon of Christian resistance. But here's the catch. Asturias wasn't some mighty empire with endless resources. It was a small, mountainous kingdom barely holding its own. To survive, it needed leaders, bold ones, who could expand its territory and secure its borders. Enter Vímara Peres, a nobleman of Asturian descent, born around 820 AD. He wasn't just any noble. Vímara had ambition, skill, and a burning desire to make his mark on history. But he faced a colossal challenge. How could one man, with limited resources, create a legacy that would last? Let's set the scene. By the mid-9th century, the region we now call northern Portugal was a contested land. The Moors controlled the south, while the north was a fragile mix of Christian territories. The area around the Douro River, in particular, was a dangerous no-man's land, constantly raided and abandoned. It was rich in potential, but riddled with conflict. Vímara Peres entered this chaotic landscape under the banner of King Alfonso III of Asturias. Alfonso had a clear vision: expand his kingdom southward, reclaiming land from Moorish rule. To do that, he needed someone fearless, someone who could lead an expedition into hostile territory and hold it. That someone was Vímara Peres. In 868 AD, Alfonso tasked Vímara with reclaiming and securing the region around the Douro River. This wasn't just a military mission, it was a monumental gamble. Vímara's job was not only to fight, but also to repopulate the region, bringing stability to an area long abandoned by both Christians and Muslims. Think about it. He had to rebuild an entire community from scratch, all while keeping his enemies at bay. Now imagine what that must have been like. Vímara and his men marching into unknown territory, knowing every step could be their last. But Vímara wasn't just a warrior, he was a strategist. He didn't rely on brute force alone. Instead, he built alliances with local leaders, promising protection and stability in exchange for loyalty. Slowly but surely, he began to transform the region. The crown jewel of Vímara's efforts was the city of Portugal, located near modern-day Porto. This ancient settlement had been abandoned for years, but under Vímara's leadership, it was brought back to life. He fortified the city, encouraged people to settle there, and established it as a stronghold of Christian power in the region. Portugal would later lend its name to the entire country of Portugal, but at the time, it was simply the beating heart of Vímara's vision. Vímara's success didn't come without danger. The Moors weren't just going to sit back and let him take over. Raids and skirmishes were constant, and every day was a test of his leadership. But Vímara wasn't just fighting for land. He was fighting for an idea that this fragmented land could become something greater. By the time Vímara Peres established the County of Portugal, he had achieved something extraordinary. He had turned a lawless, contested region into a thriving territory under Christian rule. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a cultural and political one. Vímara laid the groundwork for what would eventually become one of Europe's most enduring nations. For Vímara Peres, founding the County of Portugal was just the beginning. The story didn't end with securing the Douro River. It's what came next that would truly test his vision and legacy. This is where the seeds of a kingdom were planted. in a tale of ambition, survival, and betrayal. Vímara Peres transformed a dangerous, contested land into the County of Portugal. But his journey didn't stop there. The foundations he built were strong, but the challenges ahead were even greater. This is how Vímara's legacy shaped the path to a unified Portugal, and why his vision was both bold and fragile. After establishing the County of Portugal, Vímara Peres faced a daunting reality, holding on to what he had built. The Moors were still a constant threat, launching raids to reclaim lost territory. Meanwhile, the Christian kingdoms in the north were far from united. Rivalries, political intrigue, and shifting alliances created a fragile balance of power that could collapse at any moment. And then there was the challenge of governance. The County of Portugal wasn't just a military stronghold, it was a fledgling society. Vímara had to manage a population of settlers, maintain order, and build an economy in a region still recovering from years of neglect and warfare. How do you create stability in a place that has known nothing but chaos? One of Vímara's first tasks was to solidify the borders of his new county. This meant fortifying key locations like Portugal and Braga, which became critical centers of administration and defense. But Vímara didn't stop at military strategy. He understood the importance of culture and religion in uniting his people. Under his leadership, churches and monasteries were rebuilt or established, serving as centers of both faith and learning. These institutions didn't just provide spiritual guidance, they also became hubs of education and cultural revival. Vímara's vision extended beyond survival. He wanted his people to thrive. But unity was hard to achieve. The county's population was diverse, including former Christians who had lived under Moorish rule, local peasants, and newcomers from Asturias and Galicia. Tensions between these groups were inevitable, and Vímara had to navigate these divisions carefully. His ability to mediate disputes and foster loyalty was crucial to the county's survival. However, external pressures continued to mount. The Caliphate of Córdoba was not a distant threat. It was a powerful and well-organized force that frequently tested the county's defenses. Vímara had to rely on both his military prowess and his diplomatic skills to keep the peace and protect his people. One of the most critical moments came when Vímara faced internal dissent. Some local leaders, emboldened by the county's newfound stability, began to challenge his authority. They saw an opportunity to carve out their own power and resisted central control. Vímara's response was decisive. He crushed the rebellion, but also worked to rebuild trust. His goal wasn't just to maintain control, it was to strengthen the foundations of the county. As Vímara Peres grew older, the question of succession became increasingly important. His son, Lucidio Vimaranes, was poised to inherit the county, but would he continue his father's legacy or undo it? Vímara had to prepare not just his son, but the entire county for the challenges that lay ahead. In his final years, Vímara focused on consolidating his achievements. He strengthened alliances with neighboring Christian kingdoms, ensuring that the County of Portugal remained an integral part of the Asturian realm. But he also knew that true independence might one day be possible. The seeds he planted, strong leadership, a united population, and a fortified territory, were designed to endure. By the time of his death in 873, Vímara Peres had accomplished what few could have imagined. He had turned a no-man's land into a thriving county, laying the groundwork for a kingdom that would emerge centuries later. His story is a testament to the power of vision, courage, and perseverance. Vímara Peres may not have lived to see Portugal as we know it today, but his influence is woven into the fabric of its history. From the city of Portugal to the traditions of resilience and independence, his legacy is undeniable. He was a pioneer in every sense of the word, a man who saw potential where others saw only chaos. And this is just the beginning of Portugal's story. The County of Portugal would grow, face new challenges, and eventually become one of Europe's greatest nations. But it all started with Vímara Peres, a name we should never forget. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe and join us as we unravel the next chapter of Portugal's incredible history.